Hey, Oopla, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to hear what's been going on with Oopla. I'm joined today with two important people from Eakin Healthcare who have been recently playing round 6 of the season, and we designed a really cool approach to involve as many people as possible, which we'll hear all about today. Now, Oopla is a fully inclusive strategy game which helps more people move more. Rather than counting steps, it involves participants logging activities that are 10 minutes or more and aims to meet and exceed the recommended weekly guidelines. But what you count as exercise counts. Globally, 1 in 4 adults do not currently meet the global recommended levels of physical activity. And unfortunately, people who are insufficiently active have a 20 to 30% increased risk of death compared to people who are sufficiently active. Now, to reduce this risk, Oopla is a great wellbeing initiative for organizations, and research just published in March this year has revealed why. Findings across 2 studies consistently reveal that autonomous motivation, in other words, self-determined behavior, prompts employees average levels of daily physical activity, which on a daily basis generates something called resource caravans, namely sleep quality, energy and vigor, and task focus, which translates into next day enhanced job performance, creativity, and perceived health. Now, as a result, greater job self-efficacy intensifies these benefits and promotes continuation of healthy habits. Now, I'm joined today by Carolyn and Alistair from Eakin Healthcare. Welcome, guys. Why don't we start by telling us who you are, who Eakin are, and what you guys do there. Carolyn, maybe you first.
Okay. So I'm Carolyn Busby. I obviously work in Eakin Healthcare, which is an international healthcare company that manufactures and supplies medical devices. My role in the company is as a senior program manager in our project management office, but I also project lead our employee engagement group called Belong.
Okay, yeah, great. And Alistair?
Yeah, I'm Alistair. I'm a program manager. I work alongside Carolyn in the program management office. I'm based down in Cardiff, South Wales, and I'm also part of Belong as well.
Great, great. Now, would you guys call yourselves an active people?
I'd call myself reasonably active, but aspiring to be more active than I probably am at the best of times.
What about yourself, Carolyn?
I'd say until recently, I would like to think I was active, but I really wasn't. And Oopla has really made me look at it slightly different. And I know we'll get on to that more, but being a full-time working mum, it can be hard to get the motivation and energy to be active. So until we started the Oopla challenge, I would say I probably wasn't as active as I should have been.
Okay, okay. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit more about Eakin? How many staff are there?
Okay, so yeah, as I said, we're an international health company that manufactures and supplies medical devices, and that's across ostomy and wound, respiratory and surgical therapies. What sets us apart is that we put patient needs at the heart of everything we do. So we know that we're always working to improve the lives of real people. We've about 700 colleagues across 9 countries, although all of our manufacturing takes place in the UK at our sites in Cumber, where I'm based, Coleraine and Cardiff, where Alistair's based.
Great. And what about physical well-being at Eakin? Why focus on it? What made you want to do something in that space?
Yeah, so we mentioned our Belong team, which is our employee engagement team, and it works to engage employees and plan activities across 4 work streams. And those work streams are social, looking at organising social events and activities, charity and local community, which looks at activities around fundraising and volunteering, environmental, where we're working to protect our local environment through litter picking and supporting sustainable initiatives. And then the 4th work stream is wellbeing. And the focus there is to promote good health and wellbeing through awareness and communication and creating those opportunities to get the employees active. Okay,
great. And have you any previous history in that, in the physical wellbeing?
Yeah, so during the pandemic, we had online classes. We had Pilates. We also had some workout classes, which we had done online. We did find that it was very difficult because we are working across 9 countries. We try and make things as inclusive as possible. So a lot of the focus had been online. We had limited success with those, to be honest. We didn't, the Pilates during the initial stage of the pandemic probably got the biggest hit out of all of those online classes, because obviously I think we all were looking for online opportunities to engage and see people. And then the workouts kind of came just as we were coming back into working in the office. And again, the numbers weren't great for that.
And when you heard about Oopla and reached out to us, what did you like initially about that?
So we've had a lot of feedback over the last couple of years that people would like to do challenges. You know, you hear of companies that, you know, try to cycle as many miles as they can from one place to the other. We've done a charity challenge around Step Up for Stomas to support charities, but people were asking for a challenge. Gillian McCauley, our Chief People Officer, had obviously worked with yourself before, Johnny, on Oopla in a previous company, and it seemed like a really good fit for what we were trying to do. And it required, I suppose, for us, in a selfish perspective, it required little effort from us, because we were thinking, how could you do that? You know, create spreadsheets and tracking things. And when we heard that there was basically already a system there that could do it for us, it just made sense to reach out and see what we could put together for the team.
That's great. So one great thing about Oopla, it's extremely inclusive. It's designed to be that way. It's the workplace and the diversity of staff has been the center towards the design. It allows people to log whatever they choose to call exercise. Therefore it's also extremely diverse, meaning that we can be very creative with how we choose to motivate people to sign up and ultimately play and enjoy it. I remember sitting down with you Carolyn, and we discussed some of the opportunities. And we chose to focus on that group-wide challenge, and we set everyone the target of logging at least 600 minutes of activity across 28 days, 4 weeks, which is around in Oopla. So this equates to the minimum recommended amount of weekly physical activity, which is 150 minutes, and doing it for 4 weeks in a row. And we called it the Eakin 600, and we set up a registration page for Eakin, and we designed a funky poster with a QR code, which allowed employees just to scan and immediately join it. And then we launched it halfway through round 5, so that employees in Eakin could get registered and start to have a practice and a bit of a warm up before we started the Eakin 600 on Monday, 22nd of May. Now that the 4 weeks are past, I've been looking back on some of the statistics. We had 25% of the workforce signed up, which I think was a really good achievement, and 72% of all those that played managed to reach the target of 600. And there were some notable activities that were generated. So overall, the group did 5,500 kilometers of walking and cycling. They did 1,500 kilometers of running. They did 200 hours collectively of strength, 300 hours of workouts, and 500 hours of gardening, which probably reflects the type of weather we've been having recently. But hey, Alistair, just wanted to ask you, whenever you heard about Oopla coming to Eakin, what was it like getting started? Was it easy to set up?
Yeah, it was really easy and intuitive. So Carolyn took us through the concept, everything she discussed with you, sent out an email while we were on a team call. And before the call had even ended, I think a lot of us had already signed up and were hunting around the site, looking at all the options and menus and what we could get out of it. So from getting the email to having it linked to my Strava, it was 5 minutes. And beyond that, it was looking at the rule book and trying to understand how all the metrics came together, what everything added up to, talking about strategies. And so it was very simple just to get online, have a dashboard in front of you and go, right, I'm at the starting point now. Where am I going to get?
So sounds like you're quite strategic, Alistair. You were looking at how can I maximize my score, I can get my points. For others, it's just as simple as log anything more than 10 minutes counts. And that's all you really have to do. But if you want to climb that leaderboard, yes, strategy. That's where it really takes off. But what did you enjoy about playing Oopla?
Well, for me, the thing I enjoyed most was kind of the satisfaction of seeing that I had a lot of time in my life that I wasn't really using effectively. And a lot of it sat in front of the telly. You know, you're getting from work, it's been a long day, get dinner, sit down, watch the telly, bedtime kind of thing. And what I liked after doing Oopla was that I changed my view to, well, an hour is just 60 minutes, and that could be 6 10-minute activities.
Yeah.
And realistically, maybe I'm not going to do 6 different activities within that hour, but if I could do 3, then I've got that variety strategy, which I wanted to be getting me on the leaderboard, but also I could come away from that hour and I've achieved something. So I like that it made me think about my time that I was spending outside of work and whether I was using it effectively when I did have some.
Fantastic. Carolyn, what about you? Whenever you were getting set up and started, firstly, as a player, how did you find signing up and getting going?
Yeah, so I suppose I'd kind of written myself off initially, because there's obviously people that are a lot more active than me, that, you know, go cycling every evening and things like that. So I'd kind of written myself off in terms of the leaderboard. But I think I surprised myself because it really, you know, similar to Alistair, it really motivated me to kind of look at my days, and each, you know, morning or even ahead of the, you know, kind of week ahead, I was thinking, okay, what can I do this week? And I have started I've started classes. So I'm going to a couple of workout classes twice a week. One of them is 6:30 on a Friday morning, which I never thought I would ever sign up to. But
Commitment.
It's great. Get it out of the way, and then I have the rest of Friday to do whatever I need to do with work and the kids and stuff. So I've done that. I've gone back to playing hockey, which I'd been playing until last year, and then the team we'd been playing with had been folding, so I got back into a little bit of hockey and walking more, and just you know, I remember, and I hope you're not mind me saying this, Johnny, but the first meeting we had, I met you in a local coffee shop near to where we both live, and I remember you asked if I'd walked, and I was like, no. I drove. And at that, you know, and at that point I hadn't realized, you know, really I could have walked. So I'm walking more, you know, when the kids need picked up in local to where we live, we're walking, and we're not necessarily just assuming that we'll drive, you know, we're giving ourselves that little bit of extra time and walking to different places that we can. So it's completely changed my mindset in terms of trying to fit more activity in around the busy lifestyle that I have, and despite not focusing on the leaderboard and just focusing on, you know, getting the minutes, I actually came in the top 20 of Eakin, which I was really pleased with. So that, you know, I have to say it has certainly motivated me to really look at my lifestyle and how I can fit activity around my commitments.
That's great. I love the fact that side benefit is we've reduced your carbon footprint, and we've also made an impression on your children as well with regards how physically how physically active they can be. Wonderful. What about Alistair? How did you get on?
I didn't do as well as the people who have lots of dogs,
Right.
you know, walking twice a day or 3 times a day. But
replace dogs with time. Some people have more time than others.
Well, I think because in talking to people, which is a big thing of what I took away from this as well, was just learning more about people and saying some of them that I get up at 5 a.m. so I can walk the dogs before coming to work and doing all that. And I didn't necessarily have that motivation in my life, but what I did do was I found that I got into a good routine with the time I did have available. And for me, it was always with strategy in mind. I wanted to do 2 or 3 things every day and build up that variety. So did a workout followed by some yoga and maybe a very short run. And that's 3 things, 10 minutes each. And I'm ready for work after I'm done. So it didn't impact me, but it benefited me. And then I just mix and match what I enjoyed doing and had time for, and just try and always do more than one thing. So it was great to do, you know, a swim, but if I got home and could do some stretching, you really talked about the active stretching being something that contributes. And for me, I could just easily sit in front of the telly for an hour, and I still do that, and I always will, but I could do yoga at the same time, and trying to do yoga and watch the telly is a bit challenging. So I thought, actually, I've got all these podcasts I want to listen to. I don't have to look at anything. I can put that on and combine the two things that I enjoy doing. So, you know, I'm more conscious now about that balance and what I can mix and match in my day. And it was the same speaking to other people around the site as well.
Great, great. So again, more side benefits here. We're talking about stress management. Did your sleep get better?
My sleep, yeah, actually, yes and no, because I wanted to get up early to have time to do a bit more, because I was finding when I'm getting into the exercise and conditioning and whatever, I wanted to do more of it. And so I wanted a longer session, so I needed to get up early. But in the long run, that's a benefit for me. And, you know, you could easily stay in bed for another hour, but maybe I should get up and make the most of the day.
What about the other guys in Cardiff? What did you notice around you? What was going on?
There was a big buzz and a
Okay.
lot of conversation the next day to see who's moved where on the leaderboard. We tried not to be too competitive and say, you know, top place is going to win a huge prize or anything, but you naturally want to be in the top 10. You want to be near the top, and that's understandable. And so there was a lot of really great discussion and banter between people of like, what did you do for an hour and a half last night? I've looked at the leaderboard and you've gone up. What were you up to? And people kind of sharing strategies and just learning more about people's lives, like saying about the dog walkers. I didn't know some people had more than one dog and needed to walk them a lot. And other people I'm finding out are cyclists or big gardeners. So we've got to know each other, people we wouldn't usually talk to. And that's been a real nice thing as well.
Yeah, that's great. It makes the workplace a more healthy, happy, friendly place whenever people have got non-work related conversations happening as well, which is wonderful to hear. What about Cumber, Carolyn? What was the buzz like there?
Yeah, very similar. You know, there was people that, to be honest, I didn't think would probably engage, who, you know, were actively talking about it. You know, in the office there was a bit of banter, and I had people who, you know, I maybe don't have a lot of work dealings with, so wouldn't necessarily speak to a lot, actually stopping me in the corridor or coming over to see me and asking questions, and then, you know, even saying to me, oh, when I'm thinking about, I think last week it was, somebody was saying, you know, they'd planned a massive bike ride on Sunday just to make sure that they were doing themselves justice in the final leaderboard. So there was a real buzz about the place. People were really getting into it, and the initial warm up, the weather wasn't great, and I remember a couple of the girls saying they'd gone down. Basically, we have like a little area between the office and the manufacturing facility that we call the lean-to. And they were basically walking up and down there at lunchtime because the weather was so bad. So when the great weather came, the timing was just perfect, because it was just as the round started. So everybody, you know, we go out at lunchtime and we're walking around. You can do a couple of laps of the factory in about 15 minutes. So we were bumping into lots of people. And there was definitely, you could see people even just during the day trying to get a little bit of activity in at lunchtime, before obviously heading home and maybe doing a bit more later in the day. So it created that buzz. As you said, it opened conversations, you know, where, you know, we maybe hadn't really engaged with certain people before, or people maybe hadn't known what to say and really spoken to you before, that you could see new conversations open up, and it was great to hear people, you know, planning out their week and what they were going to do. So it really did motivate people.
That's great to hear, you know, especially in an international business, which is multi-site. It's like what you've described there is corporate culture, and you know, it's a healthy, happy place to work, and it feels like you're not siloed, you're all together as one, which is fantastic. Of course, in Oopla as well, there is the untouched leaderboard, but there is filters on the leaderboard as well, which we can kind of choose to zone in on certain demographic or something like that. So the leaderboards can change very quickly. There's also functions in there where we could view how the different departments in the business were doing on average against each other. And I saw a number of people setting up in teams as well, which looked to be good fun. Carolyn, what about your staff engagement overall? Now we've the this Eakin 600s just about a week or two finished. How happy were you with the staff engagement?
Yeah, I mean, when we first set out, kind of based on previous engagement on other wellbeing initiatives, you know, we were probably worried we weren't going to get very many people to sign up. And I know when we had spoke to you about numbers, we were probably being quite conservative. So we were really pleased to see over 200 people sign up. There was a lot of engagement from our office-based staff. We would still need a little bit of work just on the production staff, but you know, a lot of the feedback we were getting was, well, you know, they're on their feet all day and maybe struggled then in the evenings to, you know, want to go and do something. So we're hoping if we were to do it again, we'd be able to, you know, find a few champions in the production teams. But there was engagement there, you know, and naturally it's easier for somebody who's at a computer all day to you know, pump in the numbers and things like that. So we were really pleased that with the numbers and certainly with the engagement then and the number of people who did meet the challenge. You know, it did exceed our expectations, I have to say. And it was great to see people really understand what we're trying to do. We did have completely mixed feedback. We had feedback that it wasn't competitive enough. And we also had feedback that it was too competitive. So, you know, I think I'll take that as we got the balance right.
Yes.
because we, you know, the key thing when I'd first approached a few people just to get the feelers on what people thought, there was a few people said, you know, if you do a challenge and it's about who wins, there's people who are naturally active that are going to be at an advantage. So that's why we did focus on the getting more people active and aimed for the 600 the 600 minutes. So I do think we by sticking to the 600, I think we've engaged more people than we would have if it had been you know, a competition.
Yeah.
But you know, we are obviously looking at potentially further down the line then looking at now that we've got lots of people engaged, let's make a bit of a competition out of it. But I think it helps people as well to see the way the leaderboard can be split out. You know, the fact that you can split it out into almost like categories and teams and then things like that. So there was quite a bit of banter and competition even just between the teams themselves. And it was great to see, you know, I think the amount of teams that were set up and how many people were asking me questions about the leaderboard would suggest that there was a real interest in you know, a little bit of competition between people that we weren't necessarily promoting. And that is what drove people on. You know, as I say, there's even myself, you know, last weekend I was like, right, okay, what do I need to do to, you know, make sure that I finish as high as I possibly can. And I know there was others like that as well. So while we didn't push it as a competition, there was a little bit of natural competition across the team. But I think we got the right balance, you know, to make sure that people weren't turned off, you know, by the fact that, you know, they're never going to compete maybe with the people who naturally are getting on their bike for maybe 2 to 3 hours every evening when the weather's as nice as it was.
And a quick one on, did you have to work hard to promote it or to manage it?
No, it was pretty easy. I mean, once we put it out there in terms of what it was, and then obviously you did a sort of info session, that really, the amount of people then that wanted to jump on the chance to be involved was great. I think it's a very easy system to use. So I think once people signed up, they realized that, you know, this is something that I can do. So no, I think in terms of the actual admin and stuff for us was very simple. It was great that there wasn't a lot of admin on our side. And it was really just getting the communications out there. And then we shared, obviously the session you did, we shared that internally. For anybody who'd missed it, we recorded it so that they could see that. And I think it sold itself really. You know, you know, once people really understood what we were trying to do and saw how easy it was. And the fact, I think, you know, you touched on it there around, you know, activity is whatever you see as activity. I think when people realized they weren't going to have to go on, you know, 10-kilometer cycle rides or, you know, run a 5K, they could make the activity whatever it was to them. You know, with people finishing high who maybe all they do is yoga, Pilates and walking, you know.
Well, there's 500 hours of gardening in there, so
the gardening as well. Yeah, as you say, the weather certainly helped with that. I think there's people doing a lot of DIY in the garden as well. So Yeah, and I think that was what was really important, because that made it inclusive as well. That it was, and even in terms of, you know, our workforce being spread across 9 countries, the language barrier wasn't there, because Oopla is available in so many different languages. And even in the UK, a lot of our team their English isn't their first language, so that was something that really helped as well, because it was entirely inclusive. There was nobody who felt left out or couldn't engage in the system because of maybe the language barrier. So that was something that was really important. So overall, we thought it was great, and most people who did engage in the system, then, you know, you can still hear them kind of chatting a little bit, and there's been questions asked about, we're going to do it again, or you know, can we do it a bit more challenging the next time? So we have gone out to ask for feedback from people, and just gauge interest there as well. But I would say from what we've heard so far, it's definitely something we'll look at again further down the line.
Well, my final question is just about that. What happened? Well, what were the positive outcomes that you've noticed so far? Alistair, have you noticed what's been good about it, from your perspective?
I think definitely on a personal level, for me, what's positive is that I can see the benefits of just being challenged by competition, officially, unofficially, to, you know, be better at what I do outside of work. That's really helped me in my non-work life to see the benefits of regular fitness and just pushing myself a little bit more, just challenging what I do with my time. And that's been great. In work, the positivity, as Carolyn's just said, is the conversations we're having with people we know, people we don't know, are really positive, and they're all really well-spirited about, like, so I don't know you, but tell me, are you doing Oopla? Like, have you done anything yesterday? What's your score? What's your strategy? And I've built a couple of connections with people that I don't have anything work-related to talk to, like Carolyn was saying, but you can ask anyone on a Teams call when you join and you've got a couple of minutes to wait for others, you know, what's happening with your Oopla? Where are you on the leaderboard? And sometimes it's a bit of like joshing and stuff, and sometimes it's, I just do my normal life, but now I'm tracking it, and that's great. So really, the positive outcome is it just highlights that there's no real excuse not to do anything, but you don't have to go above and beyond. You don't have to be an Olympic level sprinter. You can just be you and do what you usually do, but a little bit more if you want to. So I think that's really great, and I definitely want to do it again and encourage people to have a go at it. I think you've got nothing to lose, and it doesn't shame you or anything like that. You could be at the bottom of the leaderboard, and I spoke to people who were down at the bottom, and that's not a bad thing. It just means that they know where they are, and they can decide, do I want to do a bit more, or is this right for me? Maybe there's something I hadn't considered, you know, like if yoga and gardening and DIY can be included along with cycling, swimming, running, weight training, then everyone can do it. So it's just been a real buzz.
Great. And of course, we have a stealth function. I saw some of your staff, so that if you want to be a little bit more private or discreet, then hide your name, go into stealth mode. Well, guys, you know, thanks so much. It's been wonderful to hear all these positives from both of you today, and thanks very much for choosing to play Oopla. And we really look forward to having you back again soon in the future. Now, so if you're listening to this and your organization would like to play a round of Oopla next, then, you know, reach out to us at inquiries@oopla.app or visit our website oopla.app, where you can book to arrange a demo and speak to me or one of my team. But thanks very much for listening to us today. I hope you found this video helpful, insightful, and hopefully a little motivational as well. We really do look forward to hearing from you soon, and we look forward to playing again very soon with you guys at Eakin as well. Have a great day, everyone, and remember to stay active. Oopla!